Had they known, they wouldn't have gone to work that fateful day, even if it meant facing penalties. But they did, and it became their last outing. Join us as we delve into the stories of diligent workers whose dedication was tragically met with death. The pre-dawn hours of October 11, 2012, at Bumblebee Foods' Santa Fe Springs plant were cold and quiet. The faint hum of machinery was the only sound breaking the early morning stillness. Jose Molina, a 62-year-old veteran of the plant, arrived as he did every day well before the sun began to rise. His job, though often monotonous, was one he took pride in. He was a man of routine, known for his reliability and dedication. The plant was a labyrinth of machinery, pipes, and production lines where the slightest error could cascade into disaster. Jose knew this well, having spent years navigating its complexities. This morning he had maintenance work on one of the industrial ovens, a massive pressure cooker used to process thousands of pounds of canned tuna. As Jose climbed into the oven to begin his work, he was surrounded by silence and darkness, the heavy door closing behind him. He moved methodically, checking for any signs of wear or malfunction, a routine he had performed countless times before. Little did he know this morning would be unlike any other. Elsewhere in the plant, a co-worker went about his tasks, unaware of Jose's presence inside the oven. In a tragic twist of fate, this co-worker assumed Jose had taken a brief break, perhaps to the bathroom. Believing the stove to be empty, he proceeded to load it with 12,000 pounds of canned tuna, sealing the heavy door shut and setting the machine to its high-temperature cycle. The deadly process began with a quiet but relentless escalation, the temperature inside the oven rising steadily to 270 degrees Fahrenheit. Jose, still inside, was unaware of the impending danger. The walls around him began to heat, the air thickening with an oppressive warmth. Realization dawned slowly, turning into horror as he understood the grave mistake that had been made. The oven, now a sealed chamber of death, gave him no escape. His cries for help were swallowed by the relentless hum of the plant's machinery, unheard by his colleagues. 2 hours passed before a supervisor noticed that Jose was missing. The intercom cracked, calling for him throughout the facility and parking lot. Panic set in among the employees as they searched every corner, their hearts sinking with each passing moment. The industrial oven, a silent sentinel amid the chaos, continued its deadly cycle, unnoticed in the frantic search. The grim discovery was made when the oven was finally shut off and opened. Jose's body lay inside, a stark testament to the unimaginable pain he had endured. The reality of his death, so horrific and unexpected, sent shockwaves through the plant and the wider community. The aftermath was a whirlwind of grief, anger, and legal proceedings. Bumblebee Foods Plant Operations Director Angel Rodriguez and former safety manager Saul Flores were charged with multiple violations of Occupational Safety and Health Administration, OSHA rules. These charges highlighted the company's failure to implement essential safety measures, including proper safety plans, rules for workers entering confined spaces, and procedures to ensure machinery was turned off when someone was inside. The prosecution was straightforward. Rodriguez and Flores could face up to 3 years in prison and hefty fines if convicted. Bumblebee Foods, already cited by the state's Occupational Safety Agency for failing to assess the dangers posed by its large ovens, faced a potential fine of $1.5 million. The legal battle was fierce, underscoring the dire need for accountability and improved safety standards in industrial workplaces. 3 years after the incident, a historic settlement was reached. Bumblebee Foods agreed to pay $6 million, the largest workplace violation fatality settlement in California history. The settlement was not just about money. It marked a significant shift in the company's approach to worker safety. Bumblebee Foods committed to upgrading their ovens to prevent worker entrapment, implementing comprehensive safety training programs, and admitting to a misdemeanor charge for willfully failing to provide an effective safety program. Rodriguez and Flores also faced consequences. Both pleaded guilty to misdemeanor charges, receiving fines and community service. These punishments, while significant, paled in comparison to the grief and loss suffered by Jose Molina's family. The $1.5 million they received as part of the settlement was a small consolation for the irreplaceable void left in their lives. The sprawling Ventra Ionia Auto Parts factory in Michigan, hummed with the ceaseless production activity. Wanda Holbrook stood out in this bustling environment, filled with the mechanical ballet of robots and the clatter of assembly lines. A 57-year-old maintenance technician from Grand Rapids, Wanda was a rare presence in the male-dominated field of robot technicians. Her specialty was fixing the robots when something went wrong, a skill that set her apart and made her indispensable to the plant. Wanda's journey to becoming a revered figure in the factory was one of perseverance and dedication. Over the course of 12 years, she had navigated the complexities of the machines she tended to, earning the respect of her peers through her expertise and calm demeanor. Her knowledge of the robots was comprehensive, and her ability to troubleshoot problems was almost instinctive. Yet despite her experience and caution, tragedy struck on July 7, 2015. Like countless others before it, that morning began with Wanda arriving early at her station in the plant's 100-cell area. Here, robots worked in concert to take truck bumpers and weld plates onto them. Wanda's task was to ensure these robots operated smoothly and safely. The area was an 800-square-foot expanse of precise, coordinated movements where any deviation could spell disaster. As Wanda worked, a robot in Section 130 malfunctioned. Its arm moved erratically for unknown reasons, breaching the boundary of Section 140, where Wanda was stationed. Without warning, the robot's arm swung into her workspace, striking her with brutal force. Her head was crushed between the robot's arm and a hitch assembly it was attempting to place. The accident happened in a blink, a deadly convergence of faulty machinery and unfortunate timing. When her colleagues realized something was wrong, operations had ground to a halt, it was too late. Wanda was found unresponsive, her body lying still in the cold, metallic embrace of the machinery she had so expertly managed for years. News of Wanda's death spread quickly through the factory, the sudden and violent loss leaving a void that echoed far beyond the confines of the plant. Her husband, Bill Holbrook, along with their 3 children and grandchildren, were plunged into grief. Dozens of co-workers, friends, and family members filled the back 4 pews at her funeral, mourning the loss of a woman who had been a cornerstone of both her family and her profession. Once a place of routine and order, the factory was now a site of sorrow and bewilderment. How could such a thing happen? How could a robot that performed specific tasks within strict parameters cause such a catastrophic failure? These questions haunted Bill Holbrook, driving him to seek answers in the only way he knew how, through the courts. In the aftermath of Wanda's death, Bill filed a lawsuit alleging that the robot should never have been able to access her work area. The suit pointed to a failure in the plant's safety systems or devices, arguing that this lapse had directly contributed to Wanda's death. According to the lawsuit, the robot from Section 130 should have remained within its designated area and never attempted to load a hitch assembly within a fixture already occupied. It was a failure of multiple safety systems that had allowed this fatal breach to occur. The lawsuit named several companies responsible for the plant's automation, including Protomax, Flex-N-Gate, Fanuc, Nachi, and Lincoln Electric. Bill accused these entities of negligence, arguing that those who designed, built, tested, and monitored the robots had failed to ensure the machine's safe operation. He sought to understand what had gone wrong, hold those responsible accountable, and prevent a similar tragedy from happening again. The case was highly unusual, a grim reminder of the potential dangers lurking within the seemingly precise and controlled world of industrial automation. Fatalities involving robots were rare, making Wanda's death one of the first reported robot-related fatalities in the United States. The incident underscored the critical importance of robust safety measures and vigilant oversight in environments where humans and machines work nearby. On May 30, 2015, the sun rose over Kailua Kona, Hawaii, casting a golden glow over the Honoko House small boat harbor. Among the early risers was Captain Randy Lanes, a seasoned 47-year-old fisherman and boat captain. With over 25 years of fishing experience, Randy was a well-known figure in the sport fishing community. His reputation was built on a combination of skill, determination, and the warm aloha spirit he shared with everyone he met. As the harbor began to buzz with activity, a rare sighting occurred that would set the day's tragic events in motion. Deep inside the harbor, a broad-billed swordfish was spotted, measuring between 4 and 6 feet in length with a 3-foot bill. Swordfish, often referred to as the gladiators of the sea, are typically found in the open ocean, not within the sheltered waters of the harbor. The appearance of such a powerful and unpredictable fish in this location was highly unusual, and it immediately caught the attention of everyone nearby. Randy, recognizing the rarity and potential value of the swordfish, seized the opportunity. Swordfish meat was prized for its taste and market value, and landing such a catch could be a personal and professional triumph. Without hesitation, he dove into the water, spear in hand, aiming to secure the fish. Equally astonished by the sighting, one of his crew members began to capture the event, which would become the final moment of Randy's life. The swordfish, true to its nature, reacted violently to the intrusion. The spear hit the target, but the line quickly got tangled in a boat's mooring rope. Trapped and angry, the fish thrashed around, turning the calm harbor into a chaotic scene. It spun around the mooring rope like a game of tetherball, creating a dangerous and unpredictable whirlpool of force. In a sudden and fatal twist, the swordfish reversed its direction, its sharp bill now a deadly weapon. It struck Randy in the chest with incredible force, the pointed bill piercing through muscle and bone. The impact was devastating, and Randy was immediately pulled from the water by his horrified crew. Despite their frantic efforts to save him, performing CPR until paramedics arrived, Randy was declared dead at a nearby hospital. The news of Randy's death spread quickly through the tight-knit sport fishing community of Kailua Kona. Shock and disbelief mingled with grief as those who knew him struggled to comprehend how such a freak accident could have happened. Swordfish-related fatalities were almost unheard of, making the circumstances of Randy's death all the more incomprehensible. Randy left behind a family devastated by the sudden loss. His wife, Rachel, his 21-year-old daughter, Kaya, and his 8-year-old son, Austin, faced an unimaginable void. Randy's death was not just the loss of a husband and father, but the loss of a man whose generosity and spirit had touched many lives. Despite his rough exterior, Randy was known for his kindness and willingness to help others, even when he could barely afford to take a day off. His cousin, Bomboy Lanes, shared stories of Randy's generosity, recalling how he would strike up conversations with strangers and invite them to join him for barbecues, sharing his home and heart with anyone who crossed his path. The community came together to mourn the loss of one of their own. Fishermen who had worked alongside Randy and shared the highs and lows of life at sea now gathered to remember him. They spoke of his skill, bravery, dedication to his craft, and unwavering aloha spirit. They also acknowledged the profound risks that came with their way of life, risks that Randy had faced head-on every day. Whether the swordfish's fatal strike had been intentional or a panicked reaction remained unclear, but the result was the same: the loss of a great fisherman and a good man. Zachary Freeman Muse was a 25-year-old firefighter from Waterford, Ontario, whose life was defined by his passion for firefighting. Employed by Summerlin-based Big Cat Wildfire, Muse worked with a private company contracted with the British Columbia Wildfire Service during his first season. His dedication to the job and eagerness to make a difference were evident to everyone who knew him. On a fateful day, July 28, 2023, Zachary found himself battling a fierce wildfire at Donnie Creek, a remote area north of Fort St. John. The terrain was treacherous and the fire unpredictable, but Muse was committed to the task. Alongside his fellow firefighters, he worked tirelessly to contain the blaze, demonstrating the bravery and resilience that had earned him the respect of his peers. The situation took a tragic turn when the utility task vehicle, UTV, he was riding on lost control and rolled over a steep drop on a gravel road. The accident was sudden and violent, and despite the rapid response of his colleagues, the severity of his injuries became apparent. Muse was airlifted to the Fort St. John Airport in a desperate attempt to save his life. Despite the best efforts of the medical team, he succumbed to his injuries during transport. News of Zachary's death sent shockwaves through the firefighting community and beyond. His untimely passing was a stark reminder of the dangers faced by those who battle wildfires, often in the most challenging and hazardous conditions. British Columbia Health Minister Adrian Dix called the incident an enormous tragedy, a sentiment echoed by many who felt the loss deeply. The circumstances surrounding Muse's death prompted an investigation by the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, RCMP, BC Coroner Service, WorkSafe BC, and the BC Wildfire Service. The investigation aimed to uncover what went wrong and prevent such a tragedy from happening again. Amid this scrutiny, Zachary's family and friends were left to grapple with the sudden and profound loss of a young man who had so much more to give. Hundreds of people attended Zachary's funeral, including his family, friends, and many firefighting brothers and sisters. The ceremony was a testament to the young man's character and the many lives he had touched in his short lifetime. Tears flowed freely as speakers shared their memories of Zachary, recounting stories highlighting his kindness, bravery, and unwavering commitment to his work. Among the speakers was Zachary's uncle, Paul Cranch, a retired 40-year veteran of the Ontario Provincial Police. Cranch spoke on behalf of the family, sharing what kept Zachary's father going, the memories they had created together, and the pride he felt knowing his son had lived out his dream. Despite the profound grief, there was solace in knowing that Zachary had pursued his passion with all his heart. The family issued a statement expressing their devastation at the sudden and tragic loss. Their words conveyed the depth of their sorrow and their gratitude for the outpouring of support from the community. Amid their grief, they found a way to honor Zachary's memory by launching an online fundraiser for the Canadian Critical Incident Stress Foundation's Camp Faces program. This initiative aimed to support families coping with loss, reflecting the generosity and compassion that Zachary had embodied. Brendan Moreland was a 35-year-old traffic controller, a job with its own challenges and dangers. Brendan woke up on October 26, 2021, following his usual routine. He dressed in his high-visibility workwear, laced up his sturdy boots, and prepared for another day on the job. Little did he know, this day would mark the end of his life. Brendan arrived at his post on Bruce Highway in Mackay, Queensland, ready to ensure a safe and efficient traffic flow. His role involved moving traffic cones and directing vehicles, a critical function that required vigilance and precision. Despite the inherent risks, Brendan took pride in his work, understanding its importance in preventing accidents and ensuring the safety of both workers and drivers. The morning progressed like any other, with Brendan diligently carrying out his duties. As he moved traffic cones along the highway, a car came speeding. In a tragic and unforeseen turn of events, the vehicle struck Brendan. The impact was sudden and violent, throwing him to the ground. The driver did not stop but sped away, leaving Brendan lying on the asphalt, fatally injured. Emergency services were called to the scene, but despite their best efforts, Brendan's injuries were too severe. He was pronounced dead at the scene, his life cut short in a senseless hit-and-run incident. The news of his death sent shockwaves through his family, friends, and colleagues, who were left grappling with the sudden loss of a man they loved and respected. The police immediately launched a manhunt for the driver. The Toyota RAV4 involved in the incident became the focus of an intense search. Inspector Ian Houghton, who was in charge of the investigation, coordinated efforts to track down the vehicle and apprehend the driver. Hours later, the car was found in Mackay, and the driver, a 28-year-old man, was taken into custody after being found to have also stolen the vehicle. The suspect's criminal record was extensive. He was charged with 1 count of dangerous operation of a vehicle causing death, 3 counts of unlawful use of a motor vehicle, 2 counts of driving unlicensed, and 1 count of burglary. The gravity of his actions and the senseless nature of Brendan's death left the community reeling. Brendan's untimely death elicited an outpouring of tributes and condolences from all who knew him. His family described him as a kind and caring individual who always put others before himself. He had a gentle nature and a warm smile that could light up a room. His friends recalled his loyalty and unwavering support, which had endeared him to many. Colleagues at his workplace remembered Brendan as a dedicated and conscientious worker. He approached his job with professionalism that set a high standard for those around him. His loss was felt deeply by those who had worked alongside him, sharing in the daily challenges and triumphs of their demanding profession. The days following Brendan's death were marked by grief and reflection. A memorial service was held to honor his memory, attended by family, friends, and colleagues. The service was a sad yet heartfelt tribute to a man whose life had been dedicated to serving others. Eulogies recounted stories of Brendan's kindness, sense of humor, and unwavering dedication to his job and loved ones. In the wake of the tragedy, there was a renewed focus on the safety of traffic controllers. Brendan's death highlighted the risks associated with the job and the need for more excellent protection for those who work on the roads. Discussions about stricter regulations and enhanced safety measures gained momentum, driven by a collective desire to prevent such a tragedy from occurring again.